What is going on, everyone? AJ from the Concert Chronicles here, and today I'm here with a very special guest. We have Mr. Jeremy Wagner from the band Earthburner. Jeremy, what's going on?
Oh, just hanging loose on a Thursday. Thanks for having me, AJ. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you for joining, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
My pleasure.
So let's just get right into it. Let's go ahead, introduce yourself, introduce you, the band, anything you think the guys should know.
Sure. I'm Jeremy Wagner, and musically, up to this point, best known as guitar player and founding member of the band Broken Hope, longtime death metal band. And now I've got my band Earthburner launched, and our debut album is coming out November 8th. And outside of music, I'm a full-time writer. So I've got a couple novels out, and I've got a couple more books coming out next year. So that's what I do full-time. So books, music, they're kind of my two main worlds.
It's awesome. So you're playing the instruments, and then on downtime, still just keeping the creative mind, writing.
Yeah.
Keeping it all loose, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Never a dull moment, I always say.
So the one thing I find interesting about the band is you guys actually started back in the day and fell apart because you guys everyone was in a couple other bands, and then you guys finally recreated, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We had with Earthburner, kind of way back in the day, was created on the heels of Broken Hope going on hiatus, which happened in 2002. And Earthburner, for those who don't know, is the name of a Broken Hope song from our fifth album that came out in 1999 called Grotesque Blessings. And I wanted to do a real grindcore type of band. My influences for that were mainly Terrorizer, World Downfall, Worship. That album is one of my favorites of all time. And then Napalm Death, of course. And but then for the next decade, Earthburner, while Broken Hope was in hibernation, wasn't really happening. I was doing another band project and writing and whatnot. And then I'd say it was around 2011. I was gonna bring Earthburner back for real, full time. And we did a 3-song EP. We had a different singer. Didn't have a bass player at the time. I played bass on the EP and all the guitars. We did a music video independently, and things were going great. I had this great drummer, Mike Michek, at the time, who's still with me because Broken Hope came back in my life in a big way in 2012. And I've been doing Broken Hope ever since 2012. So it's just crazy how time flies, because we were on hiatus for 10 years, as Broken Hope was on hiatus for 10 years. And now we've been back for 12 years. So anyway, Earthburner was always this thing in my head I always wanted to do. But just the timing, I guess, had to be right. Things happen for a reason. And it was this last year that my stepson, Tyler, he's a bass player. So he's got a grindcore band called Glory Hole Guillotine. Mike Michek, the drummer of Broken Hope, who I was talking about from Earthburner 2011, he just transferred right into Broken Hope with me. So him and I have been attached at the hip since 2011. So basically what happened is this last year, sometime in 2023, I can't remember exactly when, it was winter. I'm in Miami Beach. And Tyler is like, oh, Devin Swank from Sanguisugabog said, hey, what's your stepdad doing with that band Earthburner that put out that EP back in 2011? And coincidentally, I'd just been talking to Tyler and Mike about doing Earthburner again, but it was just talk. But Devin asking about Earthburner and then saying, well, if me, your stepdad, to Tyler, wants to do Earthburner and bring it back, I want to do a grind band. I'd love to sing. So I had the album's worth of material already written, and really Devin Swank and his interest really lit a fire under my ass. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I sort of got within a week, I already had studio time booked, and we knocked that album out, the Permanent Dawn album that's coming out November 8th. So it just was the right time, the right people. Again, I don't know, call it the universe or things happen for a reason, but I got to tell you, it's a great lineup. I really love the album. And for me, it's just a personal satisfaction. Like, wow, I did it. Finally did Earthburner. We're here. And we're already writing on a second album too. So it's pretty cool.
So, since we're talking about the new album, we'll dive right into that. Do you have obviously you're saying there's a lot of connection between the album and you because it's finally showing work that you guys have put together, especially going from playing in multiple bands, taking going on sabbaticals, not really putting Earthburner to what you want it to be, to now fast forwarding. You have the album coming out soon. Tell us, kind of dive into the album. Let us know what it means to you. If you have any favorite songs coming up off the album.
Yeah, there's a few things about the album that are really special to me. For starters, just have my stepson in a band is pretty cool. He's really I call him an old soul because he's like a walking metal encyclopedia, and he loves all these genres of music and metal music, and he turns me on to bands, extreme metal bands I never even heard of, and but his passion for metal has been with him his whole life. His favorite band of all time is Iron Maiden. So like when he turned 18 and could legally get a tattoo, his upper left arm is Eddie from Killers. But he runs the gamut, from Maiden to Sanguisuga Bog to 200 Stab Wounds to Napalm Death, just everything in between. So anyway, that's really special. He's become a really accomplished bass player, and he's perfect fit for the band. So, and having Mike Micek, my drummer from Broken Hope, an original Earthburner 2011 drummer doing Earthburner is great. And then having Devin Swank from Sanguisuga Bog in the band, like Devin, Tyler, and Mike are cut from the same cloth. They're a lot younger than me. It's like that's an interesting dynamic too. It's like I'm old man Wagner, okay, and then these three guys are like around 30 years old. So I mean, I've got 20 plus years on them. So I'm like OSDM Broken Hope dude with these young guys who have this OSDM love and passion, So that's a special dynamic for me. And then the album itself, we got these great guest vocalists who really made our debut album special. So Ross Dolan, of Immolation, sings on a song. My friend Jake Cannavale from Vixen Maw sings on a track. And the track that he sings on, which is also special to me, is actually a cover song. It's the last song on the album. And it's an old Corrosion of Conformity song from I think the album came out in 86, the album Animosity. And the cover is Positive Outlook. And now I had that album way back when it came out when I was a teenager. And that song Positive Outlook has this really, really heavy riff that's like, the type of riff, AJ, where a band does a heavy riff, but then they bring it back and they slow it down. It's even heavier. That's the type of song Positive Outlook is. And I was always thinking a few years later when I formed Broken Hope after that album came out, I was always thinking, man, if we ever did that cover, Positive Outlook, we could make it even heavier. You know, we tuned down lower than COC did, and the guitar tone and all that stuff. So that was always like a little dream of mine, but we never did it in Broken Hope or anything. But we did do it with Earthburner, so that's cool. And then there's just there's numerous songs that are that I've had for a while. So there's a song called Broken Head. That might be one of the first Earthburner songs I actually wrote. And then we wrote a new song in the studio, actually. It was Tyler, Mike, and I. It's called Like Dogs. It's, I think, the second track on the album. So that was written on the spot. That was a lot of fun. And that was spontaneous, aside from all the material I had pre-written and everything. And then I've got, like, you know, people are like, what are your favorite tracks and everything? I love all the songs, but there's this song called Slaves of the Screen. And that track was actually kind of originally intended to be on like what would be the next Broken Hope album. But the way I wrote it and the way Mike was doing the drums, it was more of our Earthburner formula, if you will. I would call ourselves like, you know, death grind. So it's like we're a grindcore band, but we got these, you know, blasting parts, but then we come in with these really savage, heavy riffs, and then the song is over. So Slaves of the Screen kind of fit that mold. So I was like, well, I'm going to poach this one for Earthburner. So I really love that song. But overall, those are all a myriad reasons why the album's really special to me, you know. And there's a couple other cool facts about the album too. When we did it, we tracked all the music at Criteria Recording Studios in Miami, Florida, a legendary studio. I think we're probably the heaviest band that ever recorded there. I mean, they've had everyone from, you know, Shakira and Beyonce to the room we were in. They had Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell was down there, and Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever, and Fleetwood Mac Rumors, and Eagles Hotel California, and then Earthburner rolls in with Staying On. But
changes the whole vibe.
yeah. But you can't beat the vibe and the equipment. Like, production was really paramount to me, you know. And when we were mixing the album, this is another special thing about the album. When we were mixing the album in, I think it was Studio A at Criteria, the guy who runs Criteria, Trevor, a good friend of mine, he's like, hey, we have all these old vintage analog tape machines. You could mix down digitally and to analog tape. And I'm like, do they even make analog tape anymore? You know, but they do. And we did that. So what's cool is if you know, you, AJ, or anyone knows Rain and Blood, Slayer's Rain and Blood is like 28 minutes long. And back when that came out, if you had the cassette, the whole album was on side A, the whole album was on side B. So I got this idea, well, since we're going to have a digital and analog version of the album, both have their own sonic essences and qualities, if you will. Let's put because our album is like 28 minutes long as well. Let's put the whole album, side A, Permanent Dawn, we'll call it Digital Dawn. It'll be the digital version. And on side B will be Analog Dawn, the analog version of the album. So we did that for the vinyl and on the cassette. And a record label, M3 Audio, thankfully were like, all right, we're in. That sounds like a really cool idea, you know. Don't know if anyone else has ever done that before, but I've, you know, people that have heard both versions are like, the digital side's really razor sharp, you know, cut your head clean off, and then the analog side's really warm and punchy. So just cool thing to have on a debut album and something, I don't know, call it a bonus, for the fans or whatever. So, but anyway, those are off the top of my head, a list of things I could think of that are really, make it special,
It's actually funny. So I was just recently talking about this with my father-in-law. He plays music, and he was in bands like when he was younger. And he was explaining to me, because if you are like at his house, he has like a whole vinyl record room, like he calls it like his office. Like he walks in, and there's just vinyls everywhere up the walls. And he was explaining to me how like the whole process, because I'm only 24.
Yeah.
So he was explaining to me how us young kids don't know any better and don't know like how good music sounds. And he took me to school on vinyl records, how the only black ones sound better. When they add color, it changes the sound. Like he went into this whole entire thing. So hearing you talk about the two different sounds, I'm like, yeah, like it's definitely. I feel like the older generation would appreciate more of the analog.
Yeah. And back in the 90s, when I first decade of Broken Hope putting out albums, we were like the first digital death metal band, because we at the time we did our album Swamped in Gore. The studio we recorded at had this. At the time, it was state of the art. It was an Akai ADAM system, they called it. We recorded on this 8mm digital tape, and it was like cutting edge, super advanced technology at the time. Now it's super archaic. And then when we did our first two albums that way, and then when we got our third, fourth, and fifth albums, we actually recorded in a different studio on 2-inch analog tape. And now, being so used to recording on Pro Tools and stuff, when I think back about recording on tape, it's like that was an art for like an engineer to be able to track on tape, edit tape, cut it with a razor, and all this stuff. Like it's just crazy, like what technology was. So. To be able to, in 2023 at the time, to kind of go back to that is kind of cool, so maybe your dad would appreciate that.
Yeah, he definitely would. He'll actually be watching.
Yeah.
So
yeah, cool.
Hi, Jeff.
I told you, you say you're only 24. I made a joke about being old man Wagner, but I mean, with me and these young guys, but I've said this in some other interviews because it is funny, but my drummer Mike, he likes to remind me sometimes, like, oh, I was born 3 months after Broken Hope's first album came out. Where are you trying to rub it in? I'm still 21 in my head.
There, take that, Mike.
Yep.
So just to touch back on some of the album. So me personally, I do also like Slaves to the Screen. I feel like it.
Thank you.
It's very true to today.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people just are so connected to the world, and so connected digitally to everything. Like I talk to my sister because she's younger than me. And I'll take her out somewhere and we'll be walking around New York City because we're from New Jersey.
Okay.
So if we're in New York City or anything like that, like just walking around, looking at our phone, like,
right.
Like, what are we doing?
Right.
And, like, and obviously I'm in the same generation as that, but I grew up playing outside.
Right.
Where these kids grew up,
like me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so true, because I feel like kids today would listen to that and not even understand what you're trying to say, because they are what that song's about.
Yeah. And when the lyrics to that song, credit goes to Deb, and he wrote it. And when we did we released that song as a single with an animated like visualizer video months ago. and I think we also did a lyric video to it, but that the visualizer really captured what's going on in the song, I thought, because when we did a press release for it, been doing most of the press for Earthburner, right? I had to go to Devin, hey, tell me more about, your idea and vision for your lyrics to Slaves of the Screen. And his whole attitude was just what you're talking about, AJ, is like, people are addicted to their smartphones. The apps, like apps to make yourself look better, even, in posts and stuff like that. So when you see the visualizer video, you see phones, and you see smartphones and TVs and stuff, but you also see like this kind of like an OnlyFans looking girl, like in some underwear and stuff, and she's looking into it's like you're seeing through the mirror. She's looking at her face is like a skull. So that's kind of Devin's vision and message. Like, it's 2023, 2024. So many people, almost all of us are slaves to the screen, be it a smartphone, your computer, whatever, or TV, it's all that. So that was kind of the observation Devin made and wanted to hammer home, and it's kind of fitting for a grindcore song. Like grindcore, if you think of Napalm Death or Terrorizer, there's something about grindcore embodies like the climate of the times, the culture. With Earthburner, we're not really super political. There are, there's observations on society for sure, but there's also some stuff that leans more towards death metal, like cadaveric corpophagia or necrodesiac. So we don't subscribe to, politics or things like that, but we definitely have some, I guess what you just call social observations woven into
like views,
other ideas. Yeah,
yeah.
Like, this is what we're seeing, kind of thing. So Slaves of the Screen, that's a perfect example of that. Yeah.
When I was looking through the album, and when I was looking through and I saw that, I was like, all right. I was like, I know exactly where this is going. This is what I'm going to. And I saw the live video.
I got to say, sorry to cut.
No, you're good.
I want to say, personally, that's like my favorite song on the album too. I mean, I love them all, but that song I love to play live too. And we always play it. We've only done a couple of shows as Earthburner. We got more coming up, but we always play that song last. That's like the band votes on the running order of what are we going to play live and where. And we've been playing that song last. And I'm always like, all right, save the best for last. I can't get to the end of the set because I love that song so much. It's fun to play. I just love it. Yeah.
What's what would you say is like the general reaction from the crowd when like Earthburner comes on? Is it like, do you think it's like an anticipated moment for them, or do you think it's one of those things that just gets them moving?
It's been really cool from the get-go, because we did our first show after the album was recorded. We got on this festival. God, I can't remember what the hell month it was, but oh wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking it was winter, but I think it was actually maybe a little bit after that, this last year. Anyway, there weren't a lot of people familiar with us when we did this first show, but we went over great. It was just, we basically played the whole album live. It's 28 minutes or whatever. So we had a 30-minute slot, and we're like, boom, did the whole album. Reaction was great. But now that the singles have been out, the 3 singles, people are familiar with those songs. So there's just certain songs that have, the breakdowns, that's what really gets people losing their minds. As I said earlier, our formula is real simple. It's like you're blasting, grinding away, like, the Pete Sandoval Terrorizer, and then we just come in with these super heavy riffs. I'm always guitar tone hunting for the heaviest tone to this day, since the day I started playing guitar till now. I just talked to Gary Holt from Slayer about this. He's the same way. They're always tone chasing, always seeking the heaviest tone, right? But also, I'm all about writing the heaviest riffs I possibly can to this day. And my approach, AJ, is like to write a riff that makes me want to smash my face through a friggin' cinder block or a plate glass. So I think we achieved that, in my opinion, with the Earthburner songs, when those riffs come in. And that's really what I've seen from stage, that's when the crowd gets really, sick, when they go berserk, so the reaction has been, thankfully, very good so far. Yeah.
So speaking of shows, I see that you guys are actually going to be doing a Disciple Magazine Metal and Beer Festival, December 7th, right? In Denver?
Yep. December. That's like a real feather in my cap, because Broken Hope, we've never played Decibel Metal Fest, Metal and Beer Fest before, and there's such great festivals. The lineups are always badass. I'm a longtime Decibel magazine subscriber. I've been reading Decibel, swear to God, since the first issue ever came out, and the magazine itself puts out the best stuff that you can read for metal, and they also spotlight bands that a lot of magazines won't, and they also aim high with quality. So they got like the best writers, the coolest columns, coolest artwork, on and on. So obviously I'm a huge fan of Decibel, and the festivals are like the magazine. They always aim high, great lineups, great ideas, bringing these independent beer companies in too, to combine synergies with the festival. So we're going to have an Earthburner beer at this event. My drummer, Mike, he's quite the beer enthusiast and expert. And he also manages a coffee company in Chicago called Dark Matter Coffee, which is a really cool indie coffee company. They kind of got a punk and metal attitude, and they source their own beans, and they got their own roastery in-house, and they do really cool stuff. So Mike was assigned to work with the beer company and come up with an Earthburner beer. And I think, and I haven't said this, I don't think, in an interview before, but you might be the first person and your viewers. I think it's going to be called Night Grinder, the beer, for Decibel Metal and Beer Fest that we're playing. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So we'll have this beer, and then just to be playing the fest is a big highlight for us. And by that time, the album will be out. That's in December. The album comes out November 8th. So by the time we hit the stage in Denver,
about a month,
hopefully the attendees will be familiar with the album.
Well, you tell them they have a month to learn it, and there we go.
Yep. You guys got 1 month to pick that album up, pre-order it now, crank it every day, and go to the Decibel Metal and Beer Fest so you know all our songs.
So if you had any advice for the younger you, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question, AJ. Shit, like
I always like to ask, when I start getting towards the end of the interview, I like to ask these few questions.
Yeah, because I reflect on that a lot. It's funny you bring that up. I think back, because how I said earlier, time flies. Like I said, Broken Hope we were on hiatus for 10 years. And then we came back. We've been back for over 12 years. And it just seems like yesterday we went on hiatus. And it seems like yesterday we were putting our first album out, you know? But so to that end, I'm a reflective type of guy, you know? And I would tell my younger self, be more responsible for sure. Get your shit together and focus a little more too. So when I was in my 20s, like your age, I was on tour for our second album and I would do anything to tour. You could throw me in a Ford Pinto and I'll do 100 dates throughout North America and whatever. I just lived the tour and do death metal. But I always came home to a shitty apartment, barely made ends meet, blah, 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 all that stuff. And so to that end, I mean, I'd have day jobs and work in between tours, but there's parts of me looking back, if I could sit my younger self down, God, I sound like my dad now. But it would be like, you really look, man, like be responsible, save money. You can still, I'm all about pursuing your dreams. I always love to encourage young people to aspire to whatever they want to do. There's enough naysayers, there's enough adult figures in young people's lives that unfortunately are negative, and they'll say, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. I always block that noise out. So that younger Jeremy Wagner had that going for him, But there's just some things, with being responsible and just more focused on certain things. Rather, it was all death metal 24/7 for me. And I made a lot of sacrifices and stuff. I don't regret it, but there's just things I would have done differently, I think. So that's probably the most paramount thing I would tell a younger Jeremy Wagner. And the only other thing I would say is, because my passion for writing, I always wrote all the Broken Hope lyrics, and I always wrote short stories and stuff. But it wasn't until my late 20s that I really focused on the craft of writing, like to become a novelist and become better at the craft of writing. The Broken Hope lyrics that I wrote, they are what they are. And I really learned a lot writing lyrics, but I would tell my younger self, like way back, like at least at age 19 and 20, to work harder at the craft of writing stories, like novels, working on that, because I probably have 20 novels out by now, so, but I'm all about quality and not quantity anyway. So, but those are some of the things off the top of my head,
Just to touch back on you talking about how having someone there to be a positive influence and, kind of like blocking out all of the naysayers, I would be the younger version of you. Like,
yeah,
I'm the younger guy that you'd be talking to. So just, my father-in-law is the same exact way. He's a very big, like, reflector.
Yep.
Because he, like, when he was younger, he told his parents when he was 19, he's going to go on the road, play shows. And, they thought he was crazy because what else would you be doing at that time? Like, you're a kid, like, to them, you're a kid, get to school, do this, follow, like,
right.
You have to follow the traditional ways.
Yeah.
And having him come into my life 6 years ago almost, he was definitely he definitely helped me pursue my dreams. And I do concert photography now. I work with the Concert Chronicles.
That's
but
awesome.
he's definitely made it seem more doable, because I would definitely say, being a kid from where I'm from, there's a lot of doubts, and a lot of people just finding negativity in ways to tell you you're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and AJ, it's really important to have a positive force in your life, no matter who it is. And the positive adults in my life I always hung on to. So whether it was like my grade school librarian, she was always so great to me and always told me I could do anything. And there's people in the music business who many, before we were signed, there would be signed bands and people that wouldn't give me the time of day. But then there were signed band people that did give me the time of day, tried to help me get signed, like guys in Obituary who I'm lifelong friends with. Always very good to me before we ever broken up, ever had a record deal. And the same with writers. Like I have, you're a young person and you're trying to get advice, and a lot of people don't like, get out of here, kid, whatever. And then, but there were people that also I'm still friends with to this day, like Del James, a great, brilliant writer. And Peter Blauner, who's a New York Times bestselling author. And one of my first editors, a guy named Ed Stackler. These were all people who took the time. They already had careers. They had books that were either they wrote that were New York Times bestsellers, for example, or they worked on books that were New York Times bestsellers and beyond. And they took the time to take me under their wing, some agents too, literary agents. So that said, I try to pay it forward and be that person for young people, whether you want to be in a band, or you want to be a concert photographer or a writer or whatever. My attitude, with cutting the noise out when I was young was like, my dad would tell me, you need something to fall back on. He'd always say that, and I would be like, I don't plan on falling back.
There's no such thing.
Yeah. And I love my dad to death. He's great. He's awesome. But, it's like, and my mom was more the encouraging bookworm and the one who got me my first guitar and stuff like that. And to that end, my whole, like, the way I roll in life is to extend advice and encouragement to young people. And I say, when I was your age, old man Wagner again, I cut out that noise, and I had it in my head. There's a reason that, there's a James Hetfield or a Jeff Hanneman. There's a reason there's a Stephen King. These guys came from, like, where we did, AJ, you being in someplace in Jersey, me being from the Birds of Chicago. Everyone's got a story. They're from somewhere. They grew up somewhere, and it wasn't like they came out of the womb and were a megastar. They worked to be where they're at. I knew that, so that's what I had in my head and what I always still carry with me. That's part of what I try to tell people that really want to aspire to do whatever it is. Again, music, photography, writing, you want to build hot rods, whatever, you can do anything in life if you apply yourself. That's what I think. And I also have a saying I say a lot. It's that we all get one lap around the track, so make it count.
Yeah. You do get one.
Yeah. As far as I know, I said that to someone recently, AJ, a couple of weeks ago, and they go, "Oh no, I think we come back and you get more laps around the track till you get it right." I'm like, well, maybe you do. I don't know, but
who knows? As far as I know, there's one.
Yeah, as far as I know, there's one too. Yeah.
When you see the checkered flag waving, it's the end.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So I got another good one for you, and then we'll start wrapping it up here.
Sure.
if you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
Oh, I'd definitely be writing my ass off full time. I write my ass off right now anyway, but I'd probably I'd probably be a lot more prolific, and get more of these book projects done. And someone I was talking to, a friend of mine, about like, man, I don't got enough time in the day to write and write music. I got to really manage my time better. And they're like, dude, you like in the last year, you wrote 2 documentaries, you wrote a TV series, I sold a TV series that I wrote too. I have a production company. I write, produce stuff, but I've got a novel, and I've got a memoir I actually wrote for a famous chef that's coming out next year, and really crazy story. This guy was like raised by a biker family in Ohio and became this 3 Michelin starred chef. And they're like, I guess, when I say I'd write full time and be more prolific, and I'm bitching about not having time and think I'm squandering time, someone had to point that out to me. Like, wait a minute, man, you did an Earthburner album, you got paid to write a TV, create and write like a 10-episode TV series that is being shot. You wrote 2 documentaries, you got a novel and a memoir coming out next year. What are you bitching about? And they're right. So sometimes you're harder on yourself about time and what you're producing and stuff. For me, I'm like, I got ADHD, like, for real. Like, I get easily distracted and stuff. So I think if you want to really, really like focus on the one thing, if you took out me doing music and take out me doing films, to top it off, I also own a publishing company called Dead Sky Publishing. But that company has a really great team and that runs it pretty much. So it's not like I'm in the trenches. But the reason I mention all that is, like, if I took all these irons I have in the fire out and it had nothing to do, all I would do is write. I would just keep churning out books for sure. Yeah.
It's funny when I ask people that, they usually get stumped. They're like,
"Oh, yeah." I've been trying to clear more off my plate the last year, 2 years. Because I had all these ideas and irons in the fire, and a lot of I just have a lot of interests, and I want to dive in, and I've kind of been there, done that. So I've learned in the last couple of years what my limitations are, because when you do like 5 different things, from being paid to write a TV series and then write and produce 2 documentary films, then on top of that you got a band called Broken Hope, and you got to do shows and write music, and then you got a band called Earthburner. That's 2 bands on top of all these film projects. Then you're writing books. You're Jeremy Wagner. Your work in progress is a new horror novel, and you got a deadline to get this memoir done. And then you have a publishing company, and you want to see that succeed. That all became too much for me. That's when I was like, I got to start picking and choosing what I'm gonna do. So when you ask me that question, I'm definitely not stumped at all. I know exactly what I do. I love playing guitar and writing riffs, and I'll always want to make music. But hypothetically, to your question, if music was out of the equation and just say anything else, my passion for writing is always there. I was always a writer before I was a musician. Like I was writing my first short stories in grade school, stuff like that. So writing is what I do. And writing, what's great about writing is you can do it anywhere too. You know what I mean? You're not tethered to a bunch of people. When you're in a band, you got, 3, 4, or 5 other guys or whatever, and managers and agents. And when you're making a film and stuff, you got partners in that world, and publishing company. I've got a great team and partners and stuff. But writing for yourself is a solitary thing, which is really what I like. And I can do that anywhere. I can take my laptop, my Microsoft Word program, and I can write, whether it's here in Chicago, Miami Beach, Japan, Europe. I could take that with me and write whatever I'm working on.
Just up and go.
Yep, exactly. So I would write a lot, and I would read a lot too. I have a lot of reading I'd like to catch up on. You can't see it, but in my office, I've got bookshelf after bookshelf after bookshelf here, and I got books jammed in my bathroom closet. I've got books jammed in my walk-in closet. I got books on the floor. I mean, I got friggin' library, and I'm gonna have to live to be 150 to read everything. So I'll make it a 2-parter. I would write a lot and I would read a lot if I had nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do. That's what you're doing. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So are you guys, we're approaching the end here. Are you guys have any words on like any touring or anything like that fans can look for?
Not anything confirmed yet. We have been we get approached. We have our agent, Jake. He's got a company called Heavy Talent. And he's come to us with hey, there's this tour happening. Would you guys be interested? And it's usually, we're interested, but then there's a conflict. Because Devin, with Sugabog, they tour I don't know how many dates, 200 dates a year. They're constantly on tour. So we have to get Devin when he has a break so we could do an Earthburner tour. So a couple offers that have happened, there's been a conflict because Devin will be gone. So it's it is what it is. And then there's been other tours that we would you be interested if you got this slot on this tour? And we've said yes, but because our album isn't out yet, people won't really know who Earthburner is. Some other opening band, hot new band got the opening slot. So that said, I think once the album's out, a lot's going to change. And also next year, Devin is supposed to be off for half the year, 6 months. So we're really hoping to find get on the right tours when Devin's free and after the album's out. I think if that can all line up, we'll definitely tour as much as possible when if that happens. So nothing confirmed yet now, but we want to for sure. We'll wait and see what happens. Yeah,
I was gonna say definitely. Even going back to earlier talking about being in 2 bands and stuff, you could see how now, when it comes to trying to go on the road, trying to do this, you do run into that conflict because of, having yourself in multiple places at once.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, I've never had 2 bands at once. This is the first time in my life. My drummer, Mike, has got 3 bands. He's got, probably more. So he's got Broken Hope, Earthburner, a band called Black Cross Hotel, some other band called Race Trader, and another band, I think they're still around. I'm not sure. They're called the Atlas Moth. He was drumming for them. And then he's filled in for bands on tour as well, like Jungle Rot and stuff. And then even Broken Hope, our singer Damien, he's in the band Gorgasm. if you've ever heard of them.
Okay.
And then Devin, of course, he's sang with Sugabog and Earthburner, and I think maybe he's done one or two other bands, you know. So I don't know how those guys did it. We just did a show in Indiana called Heavy Hellfest.
Okay.
And I went from Broken Hope mode because we were going to do 2 European festivals. We had to cancel because our drummer Mike had a baby. There were some complications. The baby came late, so we had to cancel. But I was in this Broken Hope mode. I knew we were going to play this festival as Earthburner, but I waited a little too long to get acclimated again with that Earthburner stuff. So we just played that show. So I spent like the 1st of September playing to the album, and it might sound funny, but like relearning the songs, because I was doing like 30 plus years of Broken Hope material, different tuning on guitar, all this stuff, you know, and then to transfer it in the Earthburner mode took me a couple weeks practicing really hard to the album and with Mike and stuff. So I give credit to anyone that can actually do 2 bands or more at once, because I don't know how you do that.
It definitely sounds like a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, where can everyone find you guys?
We're on Instagram at Earthburner Grind. Twitter, I believe, is Earthburner666. We're on Facebook, Earthburner Official, and earthburner.com.
Awesome. So I know we have the new album coming out 11/8, so let's I'll be on the lookout for it.
Awesome.
I appreciate your time.
You bet. Crank that album, AJ. Get yourself acclimated.
I'm definitely going to.
Awesome. And thanks a lot, man. Really, really appreciate you having me on your show. It's great talking to you today.
I appreciate it. Appreciate all the wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. give my regards to your stepdad.
My father-in-law, yeah, I'll give him to him.
Yes, your father-in-law.
Yeah, I'll give him to him.
He sounds like a cool guy.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's great.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time, man. Have a good day.
You too, my friend. Good meeting you, man.
Good meeting you. Take care.